It's really a great pleasure to be here and a great pleasure to be in front of, I guess, public servants. And let me tell you, Amanda, during Caretaker, we show how good the public service is because it runs so smoothly and we know how to take care of business. I'm delighted to see our distinguished guests, Professor Lisa Paul, Professor Helen Sullivan and Professor Paddy Phillips. I'm not a professor. And all of you in particular here this morning for leading and collaborating through times of change. You know, I'm very passionate about collaboration and change, so this is a really important event. The messages that I'd like to get across is the role that we play as leaders, and it's so important for leadership, not necessarily management, for the community that we serve. So it's a little bit about how do we as leaders ensure that we embrace change and we lead in a way that is around collaboration. Professional, purposeful and collaborative leadership in the public sector is essential as we face challenging times, as we face changing times, and some very soon in the near future, and all of that's really exciting. It's how we lead during these times of change with our purpose front of mind that can determine the ongoing success of our sector. And I actually want to start by thanking each and every one of you for the support that you've actually given me, either personally through projects that we've done, or just as public servants that support the sort of work that we do in the many areas that we work in. Let me start with purpose. I'd like to talk about leading with purpose and why these themes are so important to me personally. Simply put, purpose and values are the foundation of everything we do as public sector employees, and in fact, as human beings. In my life, both personally and professionally, I continue to draw on my values and behaviours to guide my leadership and decision making. And I believe all leaders actually do that. It's whether they're aligned to what our organisation wants. Working in the public sector for me is exciting, it is humbling many times, and it is very fulfilling. And I'm motivated by the opportunity to provide people with the basic needs I believe every person should have, including a safe environment, quality health care, housing and education. So you're hearing more around, I guess, what I care about in my own personal purpose. It is my purpose, it fuels my decision making, commitment and energy to perform, the things that Amanda spoke about when I get a new idea. And most important, I take my role as Commissioner for the public sector, very important, and how can I use that to help lead on these important agendas. So as we continue to deliver services to our community in this dynamic and rapidly changing time, in my view, the single factor that helps us make informed decisions is our purpose. It's a shared recognition of the reason why we exist. It is the context that determines whether a decision is the right one and the right one to make at that particular time. When a purpose appeals to your intrinsic motivation and aligns with your values, it will fuel your success. I do know that personally, and I really hold that close in the way I work. In my experience, focusing on purpose creates clarity. It is something that will need to lead us and our people through these uncertain times. You as leaders have an important role to simplify and clarify that direction and goals for your people. This is especially true in times of uncertainty. So how can you do this? This is where the South Australian public sector values, and you know I talk a lot about them, are critical and need to be fundamentally embedded in everything that we do. They also have to be modelled by every leader in the public sector. I won't go through them, but I will mention a few of them. The values are in part based on traditional tenets of public service, many of which that we hold high when we join the public service. Yet they also reflect the evolution of our sector and the modern world in which we operate. They make it easier for us to work together by forming a shared culture and a shared vision. As leaders, you contribute to the legacy of the South Australian public sector, and that's how you'll be remembered as a leader. In fact, your legacy will be shaped by how you model and embed those public sector values and behaviours. That's what they'll be talking about. It's how they felt when they were working with you. So in times of change, I encourage you to draw on the values. They're key to help you navigate complexities and to keep you grounded. When we live the values, we are equipped to make values-based ethical decisions. Role modelling and values throughout change is something that we can all reflect on by asking ourselves, is there anything more that I can do as a leader to role model these values. Over the years, I've seen many people trying to embrace change, while at the same time manage feelings of fear and trepidation. I know that because I felt that myself. And that's often associated with uncertainty and change. We're human and we go through those emotions. But the message I'd like to give is if we can let go of that fear, that's the gap where the opportunity exists. We can create opportunities to transform this energy spent on fear into empowered energy. As Commissioner, I want everyone in the public sector to use this empowered energy to overcome that fear. When we're empowered, we can in turn challenge situations around us, draw on our values and start to be bold and make the right decisions rather than the safe decision. Why is collaboration important? It's the other essential thing that we can do is collaborate. And I can't see how I can do my job without collaborating. Leading and collaborating go hand in hand. One of our public sector values, the collaboration and engagement, is all about creating solutions together. Working in collaboration across teams, departments and agencies is something that we all should be aiming for. It is the backbone of the South Australian Public Service, and it only came to the fore for me when I did become Commissioner, when I had a very small group of people, a very big agenda, and it's how I saw the public sector. I either could look at it with my small group of people or looked at it as 105,000 people that were all working to the same vision. This is why the Office for the Public Sector is passionate about having a one government, one employer approach, and I'll talk a bit more about that. We're on the same team. We're all under the one umbrella, and I firmly believe that we build the best leaders through collaboration. As leaders, you have the unique opportunity to push the boundaries, be bold and look for ways to work with your teams and peers to foster collaboration. We all have a responsibility to ensure that working together becomes the norm. It should be part of the heart of our policy making. As the Commissioner for Public Sector Employment, the joined-up policy approach, which you have some brochures on your tables, simply makes sense to keep us on track to deliver not only a modern public service, but more importantly, a seamless customer service or citizen engagement process. A joined-up approach helps us integrate, innovate and connect to lots of things, but most importantly, be at the cutting edge. It's about us working collaboratively across portfolio and agency boundaries and developing a more holistic approach to policy design and delivery. Our joined-up policy guide complements the delivery of public value for our South Australian community. And as public servants, this is how we help South Australia thrive. A working together joined-up policy guide was launched in March 2017. It was a 90-day project. And basically it became a catalyst for how we might actually work around systemic reform that cuts across those traditional government boundaries. So it's no good being a document on the desk, it's actually how we bring it to life. So I'm excited to say 2018 we're building on that momentum. We're now piloting projects based on the 90-day projects and change at South Australia through our first South Australia Public Sector Innovation Lab, to help us address complex problems through innovation. When fully mature, we see the lab as an ideal way for people from government, private and not-for-profit to come together and collaborate. I see policy sitting in that space as well. The lab will be for people who have the courage and tenacity to stand up for change, people who take the lead because they have the ideas and that they have the passion. I'd like to leave you with a few thoughts on building a positive culture. While agencies can implement processes to guide change, ultimately we need to see ourselves as being one in the employer that we work in, so one holistically 105,000. We need to not only think about it, but we wholeheartedly need to believe in it. We need to keep collaborating and shifting our thinking from being solely agency focused, the silo approach, to thinking of our roles as part of that one government. We need to think differently to the way we approach our work and think outside our sphere of influence and consider all different perspectives. This means trusting people to work with you to achieve the best outcome, which is another one of the public sector values. Trust is really important to me, and I guess it's very important for our citizens. It means giving our employees permission to think differently, to challenge the norms, to take risks, and that those risks are actually rewarded and that their contribution is recognised. And it means seeing the lived experiences from community and stakeholders to fully address the needs of the South Australian community, which is changing rapidly. I encourage you to take up the challenge of building capacity to disrupt the silos. You have my permission. Don't tell them I told you so we continue to build an enabling culture. The lesson I've learned and the learning I build into the programs in my office is the path of least resistance is often the path of least value. You will have to build a new path through new terrain, travel always with the values that we have, but most importantly your own, with courage, tenacity, professionalism and integrity. I know this is not easy, it is essential, but if you do travel with those values, you will always have my support. Thank you.